What's up, everybody? This is your man, Dr. John C. Turner, aka the Professor JT. And man, we're here with another The Doc Chat. I'm telling you, I got some heavy hitters on. And thank y'all so much, all the folks that came on last week. If you are here, if you are checking us out live, make sure you go ahead, drop in the comments who you are, where you're at, if you're in a doctorate program, what doctorate program you're in, and if you're finished, where did you graduate from? Because we want to talk to the doctors, and this is what we're going to do today. Let me tell y'all something. The gentleman we have on today, they reached out to me. They said, oh, I got to be on this. I got to share my story. And it's no better gentlemen that are coming with their story today than Dr. Ramon Goings and Dr. Trenton Watson. So we're going to start with the great Dr. Ramon Goings. Tell us about yourself. Welcome to the Doc Chat, and let us know what you're up to.
No, let's get it. I appreciate it as always, man, for the invitation. So my name is Dr. Ramon Goings. Daytime, I always say I'm a college professor. I'm an associate professor in the Language, Literacy, and Culture doctoral program at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. But I'm also founder of Done Dissertation, which is like a dissertation consulting firm where we help doctoral students write and defend their dissertation in 1 year or less. For those of y'all who don't know me, I do a lot of work around the dissertation process and really want to help doctoral students get through this thing. And I am my first case study in this process. So I got my doctorate at Morgan State University in urban educational leadership. And when I first started out my doctoral program, I was struggling. And so what I had to do was teach myself a system in order to improve and get through the doctoral process because I just couldn't figure it out. And by creating the system for myself, what I ended up doing was getting so good at the process that I ended up starting publishing as a doctoral student, and I started out publishing my faculty. Then it got to a point they were sending me their students. So by the time I graduated, I was doing all the things I needed to do and easily transition to faculty position. But outside of those things, in terms of the academics, I have a proud husband. Been married for about the last 11 years, going on 12 years, depending on when you watch this particular episode. And I have a 4-year-old. So if you know anything about that life, it's keeping you very busy in addition to everything else you got going on the work side. But Dr. Turner, I really appreciate you for the invitation.
Oh, yeah. And the great, my frat, my brother, Dr. Trenton Watson, he is coming on and tell us a little bit about yourself, my brother.
Well, brother, I certainly appreciate this opportunity to be on this evening. I am a 20-plus year educator here in the Memphis, Tennessee area. Got my doctoral degree from the University of Arizona Global Campus in 2021, completed that process. I'm excited about this opportunity to be here on this evening because the struggle is real, but it is worth it. And we want to talk through how we can help others get through this process and do it with fidelity. This is going to be a great show today. I promise you that.
Now, both of y'all have some HBCU connections. Is that correct? Dr. Goins, what's your HBCU connection?
I got my doctorate at Morgan State University.
It's your doctorate. And Dr. Trenton Watson, what's yours?
My HBCU connection is I graduated from the greatest institution in the land, the Tennessee State University, located at 3500 John A. Merritt Boulevard, Nashville, Tennessee, 37209.
I love it. So we're going to jump right into the My Doctor story. Dr. Watson, tell us a little bit about why go get a doctorate degree. What was your push to do that?
Well, when I was younger, I promised my mother and my grandmother that I would take education as far as I could. Now, honestly, I never intended to be an educator. Now serving as a vice principal in a high school, I thought education was not going to be where I ended up. I just landed there, but it was by divine intervention. So I found my niche by being in education, but I promised them that I would get every degree possible. When I got after college, I was like, I'm going at it. I promise you, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna do it. And once I got to the doctoral level, it was like, what am I here for? And why am I doing this? And is this really worth it? Because like I said before, the struggle is real. And I want people to understand that, trust me, when you feel, I had those nights where I thought it was just me. You're not by yourself. There are thousands of other people going through the exact same thing.
Yeah. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that. What about you, Dr. Goings? What was your man? I think I can make this doctorate thing happen moment.
I think for me, I knew nothing about what a doctorate, why you would do a doctorate. To be honest with you, right? I was just a teacher. I was a special education teacher in Baltimore City Public Schools, and I thought I wanted more, right? And I often thought that I wanted to be a principal, but I figured because I was so young at the time that nobody would take me seriously until I had a doctorate. So I thought that getting the doctorate would help me become the school principal. Once I got into the doctoral program, I figured out that was actually not the case. Had I thought about that and really known the system in the game, I probably would have done things slightly different. But, that's initially what I thought. I said, you know what, I just want to go into this to become a principal. But I ended up finding a different career alternative from that work. And I'm definitely most certainly glad I did it. But it definitely was not anything I ever imagined. My whole goal before the doctorate was to get into the music industry. So my background's in music. I was a music teacher to start out with. And I wanted to be Quincy Jones. So that's anybody know who Quincy Jones is, a music producer. I always was fascinated by the sounds and Thriller. So I said, I want to be who's making the sounds. And my grandmother said, that's Quincy Jones. I said, oh, okay, I want to do that. But, going on this journey and then becoming an educator really kind of pushed me to always want more. And I thought becoming a principal would be that next step to impact kids. And I thought I needed the doctorate. And so that's really how I got to the doctoral program. Again, I knew really nothing about any of this process, but that's just how I came to it.
That's real. That's real. And me being a Kappa man from Kappa land, going in Indianapolis, Indiana, we weren't talking about writing dissertations and qualitative, quantitative things, theories, and all those different types of stuff, walking down 38th Street in Indianapolis and all those things. And you just kind of fall into these things. You just really do. So we're going to go to Dr. Watson. So you're getting the application together. You're starting to put the pieces together. What was it like getting together? Then you're getting accepted, and that first semester, first year starting that program.
Starting off, it was because I had a gap in between the master's degree and the doctoral degree, so it was trying to get acclimated again to working and doing college level work. And realizing that what I did at the master's level wasn't the same as it is in the doctoral level. I'm thinking like, okay, it's just class work. It's okay. I can handle this. But then it's like, wait a minute, my critical thinking skills got to be on 15 today in this doctoral class. Yeah. I'm not thinking on the same level like I did in the master's degree class. Like, wait a minute. And so having to bring myself back to understanding like, okay, you got to really buckle down and focus. All of the extra things that I was able to balance when I was in the master's degree program, I had to shut a lot of that down because doctorate needed my complete focus. And if I didn't give it my complete focus, I could tell by the responses I was getting from my professor when they were like, yeah, you could have done just a little bit better right here. It's like, man, it's because you know what? I wasn't focused like I should have been. I felt like I could get this paper done real quick, just turn it in so I can go and get this grade. But I'm not a perfectionist, but I don't like to fail, and I don't like a bunch of red marks on my paper. So that was critical for me, just getting that understanding that hey, I gotta change my thinking again at this level.
That's powerful. Dr. Goings, you kind of starting out. You got accepted. You're rolling into that first semester. What's your thoughts? What's your mindset? What are them classes like?
I had no clue. And then when I started my doc program on, my first class was September the 12th. I got married on September the 10th. And so I just knew I couldn't even go on a honeymoon, anything. That's how I started the doc program. First class in, just like that. Just newly married at the time. And so I had maybe a year gap in between master's and doc program, but I just didn't know what to expect. I thought it would be similar to the master's program in my mind in terms of the coursework. And then I get into my first class at the time at Morgan State. It's Professor Dr. Kemet Shockley. He's now at University of Houston, but he was my professor. And as soon as I got into his class, I wrote my first paper, and I share this all the time with folks. He wrote on page 2, he wrote, "You're going to need a writing coach and editor in order to improve this," on my first paper. In 2011, he wrote this on the paper. And then on page 3, he wrote a big X and like, I'm going to stop here, rework this thing and come back.
Yeah.
And at that point, I had a decision to make. Either I'm going to drop this program because I can't do the work, or I'm going to figure out a way to prove him wrong. Because in my mind, I'm an athlete. I was a basketball player in college. So I'm like, I'm going to figure out a way to just prove this dude wrong. And so that's what I had to, there was some work and correction I needed to with my own development that I had to put into work to really change. Because then it helped me to understand, like, oh, this is a doc program. This is slightly different. And then I started to figure out what that expectation was. And I think for a lot of us, once we know the expectation, as long as we're willing to work at it, we will meet or exceed the expectation. But it took a little while just to figure out what it was, though.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And we're going to jump right into your in-the-doctorate program, Dr. Watson. You're working your way up to those qualifying exams. You're working your way up to writing that dissertation. What's going through your head? What's even happening in your life at this point in time before you get to your dissertation?
Well, see, the crazy thing is when I started the doctoral program, I got all the way to the proposal. And all of a sudden, my chair quit, just university. So I got a brand new chair. Now I'm ready to defend the proposal. So now I got to get a new chair. The new chair comes in and you know what happens? Well, I'm not satisfied with your proposal. I need you to fix this, this, and this. I go to fix all of those things. I submit this proposal to the new chair. That chair quits too.
Wow.
Long story short, within a 6-month period, I went through 5 dissertation chairs.
Wow.
Good.
Wow.
So at that point, I'm so frustrated. I say, man, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. That's it. I'm done. I've done the work. I don't care anymore. I'm done. And I walked away from the program. I did. And so it was like, and I had a gap between when I said I was done until I started again, because I had a conversation with my mom who said, hey, you started, you got to finish. And the critical piece was when I started back, because she pushed me to do so, I had to take 24 additional prerequisite hours before I could start on my. And I was like, man, come on, wait a minute. It's like, oh, you were gone too long. So now you got to come back. And I was like, wow. And so, of course, I was discouraged. I was like, man, I'm not about to do that. But I was like, you know what? I got to refocus. It's my fault. I should have stayed the course. It's my fault. And so, of course, I buckled down and went ahead and did it. But I met the most amazing chair. Jennifer Newman was extremely amazing to me. I met her by accident. And when I met her at the residency, she wasn't there for any other reason, just to see what the doctoral students were working on in the program, what they had to offer. Yep. And I was just sitting at the table by myself, and she came up and she said, hey, where are you from? And we just started talking. And then from there, she started to talk to me, and she was talking to me about the things that I was working on in my dissertation. I was like, wow, okay. So you have a lot of insight. The next thing I know, divine intervention again, I emailed her. I said, would you consider being my chair? And she said, absolutely.
Nice.
And she said, as a matter of fact, I was thinking the same thing after our conversation.
Wow.
And so amazingly, we developed a really tight bond, and she walked me through that program. Now, I was different because I really already had foundation for my study anyway, because of what had happened a couple of years before. So it was easier for me to move through that thing kind of fast. But I tell people all the time, if you have an understanding of what you want to study, you just have to narrow your scope, be prepared to build that foundation. And it's always good to be in a program where somebody can put the blocks together for you step by step, versus saying you get all the prerequisites done, and then at the end they say, okay, let's write the dissertation. That's a lot to undertake at one time. Having an ongoing writing process was extremely helpful for me.
Wow, that's powerful. That's why we're here on the Doc Chat. That's why we having these real conversations, so people know what really happens when you're in this program. We appreciate you sharing that, Dr. Watson, for sure. Once again, this is the Doc Chat. Dr. John C. Turner, aka the Professor JT. with my brothers here, Dr. Ramon Goings, Dr. Trenton Watson. Hey, if you're here with us, we appreciate you shouting us out, shouting out where you are at, what you're doing in your program. We got folks there that are viewing. We appreciate you so much, Dr. Nika. I'm trying to get you on here. I seen you want to be on here. I'm going to try to get you on here. I appreciate you. My guy, Dr. Aaron, that was on last week. We appreciate you always tuning in for sure, for sure. So we're going to go to Dr. Goings. You're in the program. Real talk. What was going on? What was happening before you hit that dissertation?
So a lot of different things, right? So the first piece I had to learn from that experience I had with my professor that I talked about was like, I got to figure out how to improve as an academic writer. So that was like my first phase. And what I had to do, I don't necessarily recommend this for everybody, but this is what my process was. My second year in the doc program, I read one journal article every day. And I did this for a particular reason. I wasn't necessarily trying to learn for the literature in my area. Of course, I read on what would become my dissertation, but I was reading inside and outside of my field because I wanted to understand, how do these people write? Because I was struggling. So I actually like started to study the craft of writing. And then I would keep a log of vocabulary words, and go back like old school, look them up in the dictionary, like, and figure out what do these words mean. And then I would build my vocabulary list and then try it out on my papers and see what would fly, what didn't work. Professors would give me feedback. And so that was my initial piece of like improving. But also in our particular doc program, we had internship requirements. And so, I'm just thinking about doing something. At this time, I'm still teaching in the classroom. I'm like, I'm just going to figure out something. I'll do whatever. And this particular year, it just so happened, unfortunately, I got laid off from a teaching position. So they reduced the workforce. And at the same time, when we found out that I got a reducing of the workforce, I had applied for these internships at the U.S. Department of Education. And I don't know what happened. By divine intervention, my application gets moved around, and I get a call from now Dr. David Johns. He just defended earlier last year. And he's like, hey, I'm just starting this White House initiative on educational excellence for African Americans. Are you interested? And then we had a conversation. Then I ended up being one of the first fellows in that office to kind of help develop that office during the Obama administration. But that was an internship experience I needed to do for grad school. And had I not applied and even gone through that process, I wouldn't have had that experience, which drastically changed my whole view on research. I started to realize the policy people knew nothing about what we do as scholars or as practitioners in the classroom. So I was able to take all those skill sets and put it to work. And I think that helped me get the confidence so that by the time I got to the dissertation, I started to kind of get my groove about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it.
That's powerful. And that's powerful. And those are the real talk moments that sometimes we don't talk about. We have individuals that sometimes don't pass those quals. They don't pass a dissertation proposal. It's not the end of the world. We have individuals that people leave right in the middle of their process, and they're holding the process in their hand. They hold everything, So these are the real conversations we want to make sure individuals that are in there know that can happen, but you can make it through it.
And Doc, can I add one more thing to that? Just real quick, that I didn't mention this, but when I applied to doctoral programs, I got rejected from every program but Morgan State University.
Wow.
All the top institutions didn't give me a shot. I remember one institution in particular, they were like, oh, the GRE is not high enough. Take the MAT. I took the MAT. Oh, that's not going to work. We're not going to give you an acceptance. And interestingly, all those institutions have now come back to offer me a position at their university. And now I just laugh about it because I go in those same rooms that those people rejected me from. So just know, if you experience that doesn't have to be where you end. This is part of this journey. And you just got to find a place that works best for you and just kill it.
That's it. And let's go, Dr. Watson, before you kind of get into your completion, why did you pick your institution? Why was that the institution for you?
Working in the school, when you work in the school system, you have all of these different programs that come down, and they give you all these offers about what they can do for educators and how they can help educators move through the program swiftly and, make it convenient, because that's one of the big deals for us is convenience, because working in a school on a day-to-day basis is a huge undertaking, and especially from an administrative capacity. So you have to balance your time. And so when programs come along, they want to show you that, okay, we can help you balance your time. So the first, and that's even a part of the story too, because I went to 2 different programs. So you got to realize that the first program was like, okay, boom. And I rolled through the program, but then I hit that wall. But then when the University of Arizona Global came along, it was like, hey, Jada, this is what we're going to do for you. Even though it was a challenge with having to take those hours, I looked at the track and I looked at my ability to finish, because like I told you, like I posted on the last episode, the best dissertation is a completed one. And so that was my focus. And so when I chose this program, I looked at my ability to finish and the timeline that it was going to take me to do it. And so it made it very, very easy. I can make this happen. And so that's what we did.
That's good. And jump right into that, the finish, writing that dissertation. What were you going through? Did you have qualifying exams? Did you have a dissertation proposal? What were your final steps before you got done?
So, of course, I had the dissertation proposal. And because I'm an English teacher. So writing is my bag. That's where I am. That's what I do. And so it's one of the strong suits for me. And then I found out in this doctoral program just how bad my writing is.
Yep.
And so, but the challenge for me is that, when people say that you can't do something or that, this is wrong, I'm immediate. My chair was always getting on me like, you're correcting stuff too fast. That's because I don't have time to waste, because I've already been behind and having to stop and start again. I don't have time to waste. I want to get this done. Show me what I need to fix. Let me fix it. And that's what I was doing. I was moving like that. And so she tells people now that if you want to know how to get through a dissertation really fast, call Trent Watson. He can tell you. That dude moves so fast. She's like, I couldn't keep up, because as she was trying to edit chapter 1, I'm on chapter 3. I went on chapter 2. I skipped through chapter 2. The literature review is done. I'm gonna get that to you tomorrow. I'm on chapter 3. What do you want to do? When are you ready for me to defend this proposal? And so I moved really fast with that, because I had a focus, I had a goal. Even a part of my work day was centered around, hey, I got to do some doctoral work.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell the team, hey, I need you to shut the hallways down, watch the cafeteria, make sure that dismissal is on point, because I'm taking an hour. I got some doctoral work that I need to do because I got to get finished. And that's what I would do.
That's it. Man, we got some people just jumping in. They showing love. We appreciate you. Dr. Burrell Craft, we appreciate you. Man, I'm telling you, people are loving the Doc Chat. They want to make sure they know they are checking y'all out today. So Dr. Goings, you wrapping that thing up. What was you running into? What was going on while you were coming to your completion of your doctoral program?
Yeah, by the time I got to the end, I was ready to rock and roll. I had started publishing. Was doing some other things before I got into writing my dissertation. But in our program, we had 30 days to do a comp exam. It basically was 3 questions, which helped me actually to flesh out my dissertation proposal. So by the time I actually started to write, I wrote my proposal in 3 months. And so I basically was doing like a chapter a month. I write chapter 1, send it to Dr. Grosslin. Tanika Grosslin was my chair, send it to her. We talk about chapter 2. I'd be writing that while she's reviewing 1. By the time she's done with 1, she give me that back. Here's 2. I'm on to 3. And then, by the time we got into a rhythm, I had collected, I wrote all 3 from August. That was done around like late October, November. And then she saw it like, well, we need to hurry up and have you apply for IRB. I don't want to hold you up waiting for us as faculty to get together to defend your proposal, because I didn't defend my proposal till February of that year, or the following year. I had done everything the semester before. I didn't defend the proposal till February. But because she was allowing me to go ahead and collect the data, by the time I got to my proposal defense, I had collected all my data for my dissertation. I actually had a draft of the whole thing done when I went to my proposal defense. Nice. And so I was able to fast track a lot of the process. So I wrote everything in 7 months total. Wow. But what ends up happening for many of us, there's always hiccups in this process. I wrote it in 7, and then I got towards the end of the semester in the spring, and there was a number of steps it had to go through till I could defend. And then little did you know, as always will happen, I got held up at one of the phases with the department chair. She was like, oh, this is great, but it's not ready quite yet. Hold off. And I couldn't turn around fast enough before everybody left for the summer break. So I ended up waiting like 5 months to defend. I didn't defend to the October. So, I got through it very quickly, and I teach our clients how to do that. But sometimes you all can't control the process. And I had to learn that, firsthand.
Yeah. And I mean, it was even like that for myself. going from a March, it's supposed to defend a dissertation, to I didn't defend it till November. COVID happened. George Floyd happened. And the biggest thing that happened, my committee basically said, this ain't ready. And it's not a knock. It's not a bad thing. These are committee members looking out for you, because nobody wants to get in that defense mode, hype about it, people looking for them to say, you're not done. They don't want to do that. And so these are the conversations we want to continue to have, because the hold up part, it might happen, but a lot of times it could be a blessing in disguise, because you want to get to that defense all the way ready. That is the key. That's the key. Dr. Watson, anything real quick?
Well, I just want to piggyback on what you said. It is important that when you get to that defense that you are ready, because you have to be prepared for whatever. You don't know what the committee is going to ask. You don't know what the committee is going to look for, but you want to be as prepared as possible. I was crazy enough, believe it or not, I was crazy enough to defend on the Saturday of homecoming. So you have to really be focused to do something like that. But that lets you know at the same time how focused I was. That's what my thought process was like. Man, I might be here, but I have something greater to take care of. And once I finished, then it was homecoming 101. Because I was so excited and pumped up. I did that on purpose, because I wanted to make sure that when I finished, I was like, when I'm done, I'm going to celebrate as hard as I possibly can.
That's right.
And that's exactly what I did. It was just critical to make sure that I was prepared. I wanted to. I probably talked to my chair every day leading up to the defense. Like, I want to make questions that I had so I could get those answered, so I would be ready. I was like, I know you can't tell me everything that's going to happen, but I just want to be prepared, because I do not want to hear those dreaded words. Well, you need to go back to the drawing board. I wasn't going to be able to hear that.
That's right. That's right. Dr. Goings.
In terms of, I'll get some similar just things to think about when you're approaching the dissertation process, right? I think a lot of us go into it, and where people get stuck is like they think about it like, I'm writing a paper for a course. And this is a completely different ball game that you're getting into. Like, you're really at this point trying to contribute to the knowledge base in your area. So they're going to want you to be ready. Like, you got to be tight, and you got to be, of course, well read, but you got to be able to communicate your ideas. And so I would just say, if you're in the process right now, it's something, keep developing that skill, keep working through it, and then continue to submit your work. A lot of folks get so scared when they get feedback. But I'm like, as professors, me being one chairing students, that's the greatest thing we can give you as a student is our feedback. So like, as students, you got to just embrace and welcome it and figure out what can you take and learn from, and then what stuff is just not apply. And you got to be able to manage those two things. And that will really help a lot of folks just get clarity on the process, because a lot of people just get stuck because they don't want to submit the work.
That's real. That's real. Once again, we here on the Doc Chat, the great Dr. Ramon Goings and the great Trenton Watson. They are here with me, and I appreciate being so much. So, we always got to show that end game. We got to show what that look like. And I appreciate some great things that they sent me that I got that we're going to present. So let me see if I can pull up this great speech from Dr. Watson that happened. Let me see if I can get that pulled up here. Hopefully it'll play good. Let me get a little volume.
Yeah, Doc, you put me on the spot.
And the possibilities yet to come is from these graduate classes of 2020, 2021.
Hopefully we'll play here. Hold on. Let me start over. I'm with little.
And the possibilities yet to come is from these graduating classes of 2020, 2021.
You might have to fast forward a little bit.
This year, I am honored to have one of your fellow graduates serve as our graduate speaker. At this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Trenton Watson. Dr. Watson is a native member.
Let's see here. Yeah. See if we can
He
get
is a native Memphian and a 20-year educator. He is married and the father of 4 children. He is a graduate of Tennessee State University, Cumberland University, and the University of Arizona Global Campus. Dr. Watson has worked in several capacities within education, from teacher to administrator, and currently serves as Director of Operations for the Memphis Academy of Science and Engineering Charter School in Memphis, Tennessee. His motto for education is that we as educators should eat and serve rice, respect, integrity, commitment, and excellence daily. He works tirelessly to see that all students are given an opportunity to be successful. The goal is for our students not just to hear the words we speak, but also to see us put them into action. He is an avid reader, writer, and exercise fanatic. Dr. Watson.
all right, a little buffering there, but that's all right. That's all right. So you were the commencement speaker for your whole graduating class. After everything that you went through, everything that happened. I mean, congratulations. Tell me about that day, that moment, being there, knowing you were going to speak to your graduating class.
So initially, I did not apply. They pulled all of the former graduates of the university and asked them to submit a sample of a speech for the commencement. And so I had no plans on submitting anything. It was at the urgence of my residency chair and my dissertation chair that I, submit a sample. And I actually submitted the last 15 minutes on the last day that they were taking those samples. So I tell my chair all the time, I said it was probably because I was the last one. They was like, well, we'll just take him. And they was like, no, we vetted everyone and we vetted all of the speeches. And so I was blessed enough to be able to be selected out of 500 some odd speeches that they looked at. And so when I got there, I mean, it was a very phenomenal thing to be able to do, to stand up there and to actually give that speech. I've given speeches before at graduations, but this one just, it hit different. And to be able to walk in with the faculty and to look around, ironically, to see that there was only one other person that looked like me that was sitting on that stage, that was powerful. And I just felt so honored and humbled to be able to do it. And as I said in that speech, my mentor, Dr. Pointer, always says, man, you got to have a speech that has a powerful opening and a dynamic closing, and you got to keep them as close together as possible. So that's how I rolled. And I just wanted to make sure to encourage everyone that was graduating that, if you're looking at me, this is possible. All of us can do this. We've done it. And this is just a testament to what's to come. So it was an honor to be able to do that.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Let me see what we got here. I got to get Dr. Goings here. I got to get Dr. Goings. So he had some great pictures on National Dissertation Day. Tell me what it was for you. That day, you went ahead, you defended, your folks was with you. What was this day like, and what was it getting hooded on your graduation day? Oh, got you on mute there. I think you're on mute there.
Oh, there we go.
Yep,
it was an amazing experience. So like I this particular graduation, I remember the graduation speaker. I graduated in 2015. So the graduation speaker was Jesse Jackson that particular year, fall of 2015. And then also, just in terms of being somebody, the first in the family to get their doctorate, it was great to be part of that ceremony and that process. And just all the work that I did, but also everybody else, and family made sacrifices. My wife made sacrifices. Everybody made sacrifices for me to do that. And so that was just the opportunity just to really like be in that moment, which was phenomenal. And then some of these other pictures are like, now I'm on the other side where I've been on committees with a number of students. So at this point, I've been on about 30 doctoral dissertation committees.
Wow.
So now I get to be on the other side of this process for sure. And I will say the only sad thing about graduation, but I always try to speak about this. I think it's important. One of the participants in my dissertation study actually was killed the day before graduation in a car accident. And so I always dedicate that graduation. He was somebody that helped me. His name is Adedire from Morgan State University. He was someone that helped me out as part of my research and really was impactful in this work. And, just to celebrate him and what he was able to do and accomplish and support my work is just always something I'll remember from that particular moment.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. So once again, on the Doc Chat, we sharing the real life of what's going on, what is happening when you go through that doctor process and become a doctor. And we got some great people doing great things. They up here checking us out. We're proud of you. Future Dr. Tiffany Evans, you're doing your thing. Keep at it. You're going to get done there. We appreciate you, Natasha, going ahead and checking us out today. We're so appreciative of everybody that's tuning in right now. So now I want to go to life after getting the doctorate degree. Some people have this notion that you're going to be doctor everywhere you go. Everybody's going to call you doctor. I mean, the red carpet's going to be laid out for you, all these different types of things. Tell me now, kind of after the fact, now that you're doctor, start with Dr. Ramon Goings, tell us about your business that you have going. Yeah. This is your time to shine. And what is life like now that you've finally done with that doctorate degree and now you're reaching back and pulling some other doctors up?
Yeah, so, once I got done with the doctoral program, I had started to prepare. So I think a lot of times as students, you got to prepare for life after while you're still a student. Sometimes we forget that part and then we just try to get out and then we're not setting ourselves up. So I had done some things I knew I wanted to become a professor. So I had started writing and doing all those things that would help me transition. So once I finished my doctoral program, I was able to transition to becoming a faculty member and then doing that work, really loving the research that I was doing on Black male student success. But what I was seeing was based on my professors. They were sending me, once I finished, they were like, hey, go see Ramon. He's figured this thing out. Go see him. He can give you some help on, your writing and improving. He did it. So he's going to help you all. And I just started helping people. Initially, I was helping people for free, editing their work. And, I was just like, I'll do it for free. And then it got to a point where I had so many people asking me for help. I'm like, shoot, I got to start charging for this because I don't got enough time to do all this. At this point, I'm still... at this point, I was a professor. I kept a private music studio where I was still teaching, young students. And so I had all these other things going. I'm still editing dissertations, all that stuff. I got to start charging. And so initially I was just charging, but people kept asking me for feedback, like not just about the edits, but like, why did you tell me to think about this way with my theoretical framework? Or why did you tell me my methods and framework and everything was not aligned? What do you mean by alignment? So a lot of the editing, I had to sit down after every edit and like talk and explain what I was doing. And then, I started saying, well, there's something to this. Like I keep helping people. And then every time I help them, they finish their dissertation. So I'm like, there might be something to do. Let me help more people. And it just started out with me just helping people I knew in my doctoral program. And then it got from them telling their friends, like, hey, go see Ramon, go see Dr. Goings. He's figured it out. And that just helped grow into what later became Done Dissertation. And that where we, helped over 150 doctoral students write and defend their dissertation because I developed a process that first helped me. And then I used that process to help other folks. And because I got so many of the same questions, I ended up also writing a book about it called 14 Secrets to a Done Dissertation, because people kept asking me certain questions about the process. Like doctoral programs can teach you how to write, but they don't teach you about the process. They don't teach you simple things like, hey, man, if you wrote that proposal and you want to submit to your chair on Friday, don't expect feedback by Monday. Like that's not happening. Like, and people will do simple things like that to make these mistakes. And so, we created a system at Done Dissertation to help doctoral students. So I've been able to take my experiences now and then package it into a business, and we've been able to, tremendously grow the business in a very short amount of time.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. So Done Dissertation, y'all can get your dissertation done. Talk to my guy, Dr. Ramon Goings. He gonna get that done for you.
We need a copy of that book, sir.
Put that link in the chat if you can see it there. We got the chat there. Man, because people need that book. I want folks to know he's the guy to get it done. You bless my guy that came on with us before, Dr. Prashant, got his dissertation done. I see you just had somebody just recently defend their dissertation just this week or just last week. And this man's getting it done. This is what it's about. And he's one of us, folks. He's one of us. Because let me tell you something that kind of got to me when I needed edits. I'm writing on Black males in the community college setting. kind of tough to give that to somebody that doesn't look like you, because sometimes they don't understand all those nuances of what you're writing about. They can get that academic jargon and all that together, but sometimes it's the way you're speaking. Got Dr. Ramon Goings here. He's doing the work. He's here for you. All right. So we got some more from my guy, Dr. Trent Watson. Let me get you pulled up your great speech here. Some of your great speech. Hopefully it'll play good. Let's hear it.
When I started this journey, I was eager and full of expectation. Kind of had the big head thinking that no one knew more than they could possibly teach me. Boy, was I wrong. I learned the most knowledgeable people don't possess all the answers, but they ask the right questions and seek the correct information. See, we cannot allow ourselves to be boxed in, limiting our ability to grow. Some say the sky is the limit, but I believe the sky is just the beginning. We have to encourage ourselves to be our best, even when others don't see it or they expect the worst. There are many people who would not believe that I would be standing here today. Some even thought or predicted that I would be dead or in jail. I salute them because I needed their doubt to help fuel my fire. And don't get me wrong, it's not about proving anything to anyone, especially those naysayers. It's about proving to ourselves we are worth the time, the effort, and the reward. You've made it to this point because you persevered. You made it to this point because you took a chance on yourself. You made it to this point because you're worth more. You're now part of a select group. Today you are celebrated because you are an example for others to follow. And I got news for you. This is only the beginning. You have so much more to give. You have so much more to offer. Because no matter what anyone tries to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you are special. And it is a delight and a pleasure to share this moment with you. So when you leave today, hold your head up high and be proud and confident. Because
Powerful. Absolutely powerful. What was it giving that speech and now life now for you being a doctor, knowing that you made it through? Because you said it took you a while. It took you a while to get there.
You know, I was one of those people that had those thoughts too, that, you know, once I finished that, you know, everybody's going to be, oh, Dr. Watson this, Dr. Watson that. And some people do. But my dad gave me a great perspective a long time ago that no matter what letters are behind your name, you're still Mr. Watson at the end of the day. And that's the most important thing that you have to remember, is to stay humble. Don't make people feel like because you've reached a certain status academically that they're beneath you. You have to reach people where they are. Sometimes it makes them feel better to be able to just call you, hey, Mr. Watson, hey, and it's okay. We know what you've attained. You know what you've done. It's hanging on the wall. It's evident in your, you know, with your federal student loans that you have, that you've attained this degree. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you're a man and you've done what you're supposed to do, but you're Mr. Watson. And so I don't take it the wrong way when people don't say it. It's okay. I'm okay with it. I know what it is. You know, and in terms, it looks good on your resume when you go and try to attain different positions. But as Dr. Goings said, I learned a long time ago, just because you got doctor in front of your name, don't make you the most qualified candidate.
That's real.
Because there's been many people that stepped into the same arena that I'm in, and I wasn't doctor, and I was more qualified than them. Mm-hmm. So it's about what you put in, but we've put in the time, the work, and the effort to attain this terminal degree. And I think that's the other thing, Doc, that people need to understand, what the definition of terminal degree is, what the value of it really is. Because at the end of the day, this was a goal, and this was a goal that I set for myself. that I'm glad that I put the extra time in. I say extra because I stopped to finish this thing. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm glad I'm not where I used to be. So some doors have opened because I stepped out of my comfort zone. Yeah. And so now to be able to not only give the speech at the commencement, but now to actually work for the university, that's a different feeling. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. But and like I said, we encourage people to keep going. Get this thing finished. No pun intended, Dr. Goings, but keep going.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're here once again on the Doc Chat. If anybody has any questions for these great doctors, we've got about 15 minutes left. I'm going to go back to Dr. Goings real quick. What can you tell students who are in the grind right now? If you got somebody that's watching, they're like, man, I finished because of what Dr. Goings said on the Doc Chat. What would you tell them right now?
So I will always tell folks the doctoral process is not about writing. Everybody thinks it's about writing, but it's actually a psychological process that you're going through. And a lot of times we approach it as like I need to get this thing and I got to physically type the words. But honestly, if you think about it, you think more about the research than you do the actual typing of it because it's constant with you. It's not, you sit down to write maybe for an hour, 2 hours a day, but best believe when you get up that seat, that thing is ringing through your head like, dang, I should have wrote that differently. Or dang, I should have thought about that. Why didn't I ask about that? Let me talk to my chair. Like all these thoughts are going through your head. So I think for a lot of doc students, it's like first understand the process is very mental and approach it like that. So you got to make sure that if you don't have, the supports in place to make sure that some of the tasks that you need around your house are taken care of. Like if you have children, I know a lot of our clients have children. Sometimes it might be investing in a babysitter, someone else that can help with that responsibility so that you can have the mental space to sit and do your dissertation. Because I always tell people the dissertation is going to take your time, it's going to take your attention and your energy. And a lot of times we're missing one of those three and why people don't get done. But once you lock in with all three of those, everything else becomes, all right, I can learn that. I can learn how to do the academic writing. I can learn everything else, but we can't learn attention. We can't learn time and we can't learn energy. It's something that you have to be willing to commit to the process. That's why I always say it's mental. Then we get to the actual mechanics of writing and all those other things.
That's real. That's real. Dr. Watson, if you could give some jewels, what would you drop right now for those students who are in the grind right now, those doctorate programs?
Take some time for yourself. Don't spend all of your time doing the work thinking that you got to get it finished today. It's got to be done right now. You have to take some time to just relax and breathe. It can be suffocating at times because if you don't take that time to just walk away from the work, take some time away, then come back to it. Yeah. I've known students who work so hard that they forgot to eat. That's not good. It's not that critical. Just wait. We know you want to get finished, but take some time for yourself because you can stress yourself to a level. Well, guess what? If you're stressed out and laid out, how are you going to finish your work and get it done? Take some time and just breathe. Okay. If it's a moment you got to go and watch your favorite show. If it's a moment you got to read something else outside of what your focus is on in the dissertation, or if you got to go exercise, if you just got to go take a walk, take some time to do that because you don't want to get overwhelmed. Overwhelmed people who try to do this work tend to not do too well. It's not a good thing. So you want to back up and say, wait, let me refocus. Let me take some time and just walk. I'm not saying take 2 to 3 years like I did. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is take 20, 30 minutes like between us, like, okay, I'm gonna come back to it. Yeah. You know, sometimes it's hard because while you're walking, you're thinking about what I'm going to write, but still just get away from the computer, get away from the pen and the pad and just go somewhere and breathe because that's important. Mental health is important. Physical health is important when you're trying to do this work.
That's true. That's true. And go back to Dr. Goings real quick. Talk about what your dissertation was. I think sometimes we think we got to reinvent the wheel with dissertation topics. Tell us about your topic and why you chose that one.
Yes, so my dissertation focused on, it was a qualitative study looking at the academic and social experiences of high achieving Black men that attended an historically Black college or university. I was very much interested in why the men were successful and what about the institutional environment cultivated that success. That research in that area happened by kind of accident. I went into my program focusing on K through 12 issues. Again, I was a classroom teacher. I wanted to focus on something that was relevant to what I was doing. And when I was reading about a lot of the literature on Black boys and in terms of schooling, I often heard about, you know, them being described in all these deficit perspectives, talking about how they place more in special education and all these things. And I kind of had heard that story enough. And it just so happened I was in a stats class and a professor said, look, he kind of said it to the side too. And only myself and my colleague, Dr. Larry Walker, we were classmates and we did our program together. We write together a lot. We were the only two that kind of took that advice, but he said this kind of passing by. He was like, yeah, if you're trying to get out of this program fast, you might want to do something related to higher ed, because if you're going to do K-12, you know, city schools, Baltimore City is not going to give y'all permission to do the study. It's going to take about a year or so to do it. So he just kind of said it in passing and kind of kept going with what he was talking about in the class. And we heard it. We're like, wait a minute. And so that kind of shifted me like, all right, let me look into higher ed research and see what's available. And a lot of that work on Black male students was focused at predominantly white institutions. But I knew I had a drastically different experience at Morgan State University than I had as an undergraduate or in my master's program. And as an undergraduate, I was an athlete. So I was highly visible on campus, but as an athlete, but not necessarily as someone who's always on the dean's list. You know what I'm saying? So I knew it was something very different about what I experienced as a doc student. So I wanted to understand what that meant and what was that experience like for those men on that campus.
That's powerful. Wow. And yourself, Dr. Watson, what was your dissertation topic?
My dissertation topic centered around leadership and its impact on teachers in K through 12 charter schools in the South, the morale and motivation of those teachers in the K through 12 charter schools in the South. Because I looked at being in the school system, I looked at how me being a leader in the building, how my demeanor, how I carried myself, how it impacted how teachers brought themselves in the building every day. Because I tell teachers all the time, our job is not to just educate, but our job is to inspire. And if we inspire kids, because everyone knows that one teacher that you just could not fail, you were so amped up about going into that person's classroom that you wanted to do well for that teacher. And especially if that teacher impacted you outside of their room, you wanted to do well because you wanted to go back and tell that teacher, hey, look what I did in this class. Or are you coming to the basketball game tonight? Or are you going to be at the track meet? Or, you know, these things were critical. So I tell teachers all the time, you know, we got to inspire. So when I looked at the morale and motivation of teachers in the building and did that qualitative study on, you know, how they felt about the leadership, it was powerful. I learned so much from teachers across the area about, you know, their perspective on what a real servant leader looks like. Because a lot of people think they're servant leaders, but they really are narcissistic.
Boy, that's another topic for another day right there, Doc. That's another one right there. But you definitely did the work, and we appreciate you doing the work. I'm telling you, this is just awesome. Awesome conversation. Awesome talk right here. I just put the donedissertation.com link in the chat for Dr. Goings.
Thank you.
Man, I'm telling you right now, this is just epic conversation. These are the things I know doctor students need to hear. People need to hear. They want to hear. We want them to hear these things. We want them to hear them. So as we're wrapping up, got about 5 more minutes left. Just give me your final thoughts, Dr. Goings. What would you like to leave out there for everybody? And where can they find you? Where can we find you today? Yeah.
Definitely. So for my doc students, I want to leave you all with a formula. If you can remember this formula, you can get through the dissertation process. And we call it the 3P process. So it's the people plus the process is going to equal a product. So what I mean by that is a lot of times in this formula, we often focus on the product, the end result, like how our dissertation is going to look. But as even Dr. Watson alluded to, the people is really important. This dissertation is a people thing as well. So you got to have the right people in place. And sometimes we get caught up in this process because people leave, chairs leave. I've had that happen. Folks leave the university. These things impact our process. So just being mindful of the people that are involved, being mindful of the process. A lot of times that's not taught in a lot of doctoral programs. You got to kind of figure it out on your own. But it's really important to have these conversations with your chair about how do they work? Do they want your document all together as a proposal? Do they want it chapter by chapter? Like having those conversations and understanding that process will really help you then to have a great product. I think a lot of times we think about the product piece and not the people in the process. And then for folks who are looking to learn more about what we're doing, they can go to our website at www.thedonedissertation.com. And then also to learn more about what we have going on as well. You can find me anywhere on social media at Dr. Ramon Goings, wherever, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. And we have a really a YouTube page with a lot of content related to the dissertation process. So if you have questions about anything related to the dissertation, go to our YouTube page. Done Dissertation, just type it on YouTube. You can find so much stuff that could be insightful for you to help you get to that next level.
Awesome. Dr. Watson, wrapping this up, bringing us on home, frat. What you got for us?
First and foremost, I want to say that I'm just so sad that Dr. Goings was not around when I needed him during that time that I was going through the program. But one thing I will say, just to piggyback on what he said, is it is about the people that you have around you, the people that support you, the people that are going to push you in the right direction to get this thing done. That's from your family. That's from the cohort you may be in. That's your professors, your chair, because it's good to have people that want to see you finish. A lot of times we get bogged down with thinking that the professors in the classroom are holding us back. But what we don't realize is that those professors want to see you finish because it makes them look good too. So it's important to keep the right people around you to motivate you. I think the biggest thing for us, and I've learned this, and I'm sure Dr. Goings, you've seen this, Dr. Turner, you too, that a culture of care is vital when we're dealing with these students, because we don't always know what people are going through. And it's important to show a culture of care when we're dealing with students, especially at this level. It's a lot. It's a lot to take on. This, again, that's what we have to get them to understand. This is a terminal degree. And a part of that means that you're going to do some amazing work. But to do that amazing work, you got to put in the time. And time is something that a lot of people don't realize how valuable it is until you sit down and have to spend, you look up, wow, I spent 4 hours working on chapter 1. Yeah. And you just on paragraph number 3.
That's real. That's real. I'm telling you, these brothers just dropped knowledge that I hope not only did you get, but you'll be able to share with somebody else. It's Dr. Ramon Goings, Dr. Trenton Watson. Thank y'all, brothers, so much for this opportunity. Blessings to y'all and all that y'all do. Make sure y'all hit them up. Dr. Watson, where can we find you? Just real quick.
Man, if you want to find me, I am down at the Manassas High School in Memphis, Tennessee. You can look up the high school. We are our website, of course, is www.manassashighschool.edu. You can find us. Come find me. I am available sometimes because I'm always busy in that school.
Hey, geez, boy, y'all principals are busy, man.
To shoot me an email, leave me a message. You can find me. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm more accessible on LinkedIn than anywhere else. Yeah, that's where I am. That's what I do, and I would love to hear from you.
Awesome. You can find all of us on LinkedIn. We're doing great work. God bless y'all. This is the Doc Chat. Can't wait to come back next week. We got some more heavy hitters for you. So blessings to everybody. And once again, until next time, peace out.
Peace out.